worlds apart. It's fucked now, we lost in limbo. Remembering what you said though, and I asked you if we'd make it far. That one last kiss that they write about, my one last wish you could never doubt. I trust angels who fly away from you, and you told me that we'd never die. Gave me so many reasons why we were meant to be. Then she said no, 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 no. No, 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 you should. I've earned the cost and now I've paid it. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, please don't go. I know my face a memory erasing. Been a few years since I heard your voice, yeah. Lost a few here, but it's not by choice, no. Girl, I see your face every day when I look through my phone. Can't delete all these memories, won't leave me alone. Hit my blind side, never saw it coming. You were so wild, but no, I was nothing. And I'm nothing now, nothing's changed. You know I'm just the same. Miss you now, but I hope that someday you explain. That one last kiss that they write about, my one last wish you could never doubt. I trust angels who fly away from you, and you told me that we'd never die. Gave me so many reasons why we were meant to be. Then she said,
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Today is September 2nd, 2023. It is 6:34 p.m. on the East Coast. I appreciate you all joining me. Susie Q already becoming a member. Thank you so much, Susie Q, starting it off. Thank you. Appreciate you so much. It's good to see you all in the chat. YouTube has been a little bit quiet today, to say the least, every time I've checked at least. Hello, Joe Marie. Good to see you all. Thank you all for being here. So there is a gentleman. His name is Peter Hyatt, and he is a statement analysis, and he is an instructor. He is also a teacher, and he does statement analysis, interviewing for law enforcement, corporate America. He has authored the Investigator Training Manual for the DHHS, State of Maine, as well as a book called Wise as a Serpent, Gentle as a Dove. He has been interviewed extensively on radio and in television, including nationally televised programs Crime Watch Daily and Taken Too Soon, along with documentaries. And I thought we could review some of his statements, analysis on Don and Candace Wells and what happened, their accounts of what happened on June 15th, 2021. Yeah, Jenna, Peter Hyatt is really, really good. And for the replay crew or anyone in chat, you can, mods, if you can drop Peter's YouTube channel, but it is in the description as well. Also, his website if you need further services or anything. So it's good to see you all. So this is Peter Hyatt's The Disappearance of Summer Wells. And I thought we could do some commentary on it. So let's get started. And this says, me and my mother and her were planting flowers, and we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from grandma. I walked her all the way to the porch, and watched her walking into the kitchen. Why do I have a red line? I don't know what that means, wise old
I'd
lady.
like
I'm
to share
sorry.
a few thoughts on the disappearance of Summer Wells, a case that has brought much interest as the 5-year-old has been missing more than 2 weeks. The first thing we notice about the case is that the father's account is not reliable in the sense that he's repeating what someone else told him. So that must be discounted. And I'm aware of his criminal background. I'm aware of the obvious issues of substance abuse that may surround the family. But I'd like to focus on the mother's statement, and I've broken it down here. It's a little bit shorter. You can get the full statement online. But to show what is concerning, what we know and what we don't know. So I'm going to start with the conclusion of the matter. The conclusion of the matter is that we don't know the source of the mother's guilt in this statement. And I'd like to show that to everyone here. The mother has indicated a belief or
Oh, Tammy Sue, thank you so much for 13 months. I appreciate it, my dear. Thank you. Very, very kind of you, and I appreciate it immensely. I did not. It's gone. Thank you. Listen, yeah, not reliable. Dad's account is not reliable. That's huge. That's huge. This is what this man does. He trains uh law enforcement and just all kinds. So he really knows what's up.
knowledge that Summer isn't coming back. Now that goes against the normal parental capacity of protection and denial, especially a mother. So it's something that I'm concerned about.
So he just said, that's something he is concerned about. That it's like they know she's not coming back, which was something that raised the red flags in the beginning of this case to begin with. Dawn, particularly, it was hours and days after Summer went missing. It was, I'll see her in the resurrection. I don't think she's alive. I know she's not. I know that she's not in the woods. I know that she was abducted. These things, and it's very interesting because the police didn't know these things. Um, they, thought she in the very hours to the first day or so, they really were thinking that she got lost because it's more accurate that a child would go get lost than someone would abduct a child, particularly where they're located, um, as well.
But when she was finally convinced to go into the media and speak to the media, which itself is unusual in terms of behavioral analysis, a mother wants to call out to the kidnapper. The mother said, and I've abbreviated a bit, me and my mother and her were planting flowers.
So he takes a note in that as well. This mother, Candace Wells, didn't get in front of a camera for 13 days after Summer went missing. That is very odd behavior, to say the least. Even the night Summer was missing, she according to Allie and other sources, that she said she wasn't going out there and speaking. She didn't want to talk, which it sound there's alarm bells going off here, because what mother wouldn't want to speak to the authorities? What mother wouldn't be begging to get in front of a camera just to let even if Summer is off with someone else. If Summer could see, a television, her mom's face, her dad's face, that would give some comfort to her, knowing that, people are looking for
her. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma. I walked her all the way over to the porch and watched her walking into the kitchen. So, from that statement, and it's abbreviated, there's more, I'm able to conclude neglect. Now, some will counter and say, given the family circumstances, domestic violence, substance abuse, perhaps some cognitive limitations, that's to be expected, and it's true, that is to be expected, but it's in the language regarding what happened. So if a sex offender has grabbed little Summer, or human trafficking, that sort of thing, a kidnapper, mom shows guilt, but I can't tell whether the guilt is because she caused Summer's disappearance or the guilt of neglect, which is here.
neglect, which has been said throughout all of this. One thing that I am sure of, in my opinion at least, and I mean, I think it's blatantly obvious, is neglect. Definite neglect in the way these children were raised, at the very minimum, neglect. Um, they were more interested in themselves and their substances that they did, rather than anything else, in my opinion. And I mean, there is such a long history with Don and Candace's, multiple children, particularly Candace. It's apparent, it's literally self-evident.
But there's some also interesting things within this statement that call our attention to specific details. So she's asked what happened. Me and my mother and her. We like to hear a mother in particular use her daughter's name. And this was the beginning of what happened. She uses the pronoun her. I believe at this point even, that's some distancing language, psychological distancing.
So a direct way would say, Summer and I were planting flowers, not, me, my mother, and her. That's a way to separate, disassociate, um, making it less intimate, right? So, alarm bells.
Say, well, what about if mom has cognitive limitations? That will impact the language. It certainly does. But if she speaks with an expectation of being understood and communicates with people, we adjust our context and we still analyze the words. Me and my mother and her, and we note the order, were planting flowers, and we went in after we got done washing our hands. Now, if you're planting flowers in the dirt, your hands are dirty, and the expectation is you're going to wash your hands. The expectation is not that you're going to have a need to talk about it. And this is where we often explore for guilt. I don't doubt that she washed her hands, and I'm not saying she lied about that. But what she's doing is including information that isn't necessary for the case, but does something else.
So, what does someone who is lying generally do? They usually give you a longer story, more details, so they will make it, in their mind, they're thinking that it's more believable, but it's actually not, like washing her hands, getting candy. That doesn't really, it's not really essential information. It's just filler.
We often find washing, when it is included unnecessarily, as another signal of guilt, among other things. So washing our hands not only will cause us to question, hey, why do you need to include that? We're not reinterpreting washing of hands to mean something else. We're wondering why the need to include that. We often find it in statements of guilt. And she, so another pronoun she, got a piece of candy from grandma. Washing our hands slows down the pace of the statement. Tell us what happened. She went missing while we were planting flowers. That would be very quick and easy. But instead, we have a pace that's being slowed down, which often indicates tension, stress, and possibly even deception later on. I don't know if that's the case here, but I'm certainly open to it. Then I had the pronoun she again, not Summer, got a piece of candy from grandma. That's immaterial to what happened, we would think. But this also slows down the pace of getting to what is essentially the information that's needed.
So it's a way for them to fill in what happened. So because essentially someone who is lying doesn't want to get down to the nitty gritty, the real information. Like if there's tends to be less deception, you're just going to, speak it out, just say exactly what happened. We planted flowers. She went downstairs. That was that. She's not there. Not all of this, filler.
Now she's a 5-year-old and this is a normal household. This is all the things that we presuppose. And 5-year-olds love to play, they love to wander, they love to have candy. I walked her to the porch. I walked her all the way to the porch. As if it's an extraordinary event, something out of the ordinary, something that's not normal. This is a portrayal of the subject by herself.
Candace says she walked Summer all the way to the porch. Why would you walk Summer all the way as in 30 to 50 feet whenever the door to the house was open? Grandis was sitting at her door in the camper. Candace is standing in front of Grandma, right? So, I mean, your eyes can clearly see 30 to 50 feet. It's making her, she's trying to portray herself to be like a doting, caring, helicopter type mother.
Mother, as a good and conscientious mother who was diligently watching over her child. The need to include this information suggests to the contrary. And when you have a couple of those points, you realize you're looking at neglect. So it's not just the socioeconomic status, the substance abuse issues, the domestic violence reports, some of those things. It's in the language as well. And watched her walking into the kitchen. On a normal day, outside in your yard, planting flowers or doing anything, would you recall watching someone all the way in?
Dawn, thank you so much, my love. I appreciate your support. It means a lot. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yay! And 50 Shades. Blue, thank you so much. Love you, my dear. Appreciate you. You are awesome. Y'all, thank you for your support. So why would is it something, I mean, I don't think it's something that grandma is going to want to do anyways. She had a bum knee allegedly. It had to have been really hurting her to leave at 7:30 in the morning for the hospital. She didn't have an appointment. She could have went in any time during the day. And she also went to pharmacies, vape shops, grocery stores, and allegedly swimming. And it's just not something that I think that they're going to want to do is plant flowers, much less a cactus, succulent cactus, whenever she just got home. That succulent and or cactus will live outside of dirt. I have all kinds of succulents and cacti. It's not like something that's, you know, a delicate flower or anything. And, you're doing all of this. Is that something you're going to, consciously remember? You're like, oh yeah, you know, watched her walked in the door. I got her hand and carried her over there or held her hand over there. Doesn't make sense.
At age 5, who runs in and out likely on her own many times. This is another indicator of guilt due to neglect. So it is possible that a sex offender got Summer, and mom has tremendous guilt for not watching her more carefully. That's certainly a possibility. And another possibility is that mom's actions caused something to go terribly wrong with Summer. The first one we look at, this we talk about guilty knowledge a lot. Guilty knowledge being mom knows what happened to her, and the guilt is because of that. But the first one we're looking at is called attendant guilt. In other words, something took place that the subject didn't do. She didn't cause Summer's disappearance, but something else was going on there, and she feels guilty over that. And I don't know at this point because of the way.
So something, she may not be. What I get from what he's trying to say is, you know, she could have been felt guilty about something because of something. Let's say, for instance, Candace isn't telling us the whole story, that she was actually gone when Summer and the boys were at the house. Let's say grandma was laying down and the kids were just, basically there on their own. They could have woken up Grandis, I guess, theory. And Candace wasn't home and Summer was abducted. Well, that could be a guilt for Candace. That would not make her directly involved with the disappearance. It would just be a neglectful thing.
The interview was conducted, what it is. Now, the interviewer had an opportunity to say, hey, you didn't want to speak out because of all the nasty comments that people make on social media. What would you like to say to them? This would have given her an opportunity to say, I didn't cause Summer's disappearance. I don't know why the interviewer didn't ask the obvious question. But if your child was missing, would you care what people on social media said? Now, you might.
Listen, and that's exactly right. If your child is missing, you're not going to give as much of a wooden nickel about what others think about you as meaning Don and Candace. You're going to worried about what can I do to get my child? What can I do to find my child? Period. It's about finding summer, not about defending your ego or your reputation or whatever. You're spending so much energy on that versus finding your child.
If it was impacting search efforts, which it wasn't. The search efforts were tremendous. But a maternal instinct, and for most people, just human empathy, and not knowing what happened would cause them to do whatever it takes to run out, call for her child immediately, and address the kidnapper. So investigators have a difficult case on their hands, not simply because of the time that has passed along, but because of the mother's statement. You've heard things from media where it appears law enforcement is confused, quote unquote, about what happened. And that's
If your child was missing, God forbid, heaven forbid, if your child is missing, are you going to wait 13 days to get in front of a camera? No, you're not going to wait 13 days because literally time is of the essence in these situations. The first 48, right, are so important. And particularly in a child abduction, the first few hours are so critical. That's exactly right, Judy B. That is exactly right.
deliberate statement that's meant to say, we've got some issues here. We don't have a clear answer of what happened, and that's important. I had a case many years ago where a little girl went missing, and the father was deceptive about what happened when she went missing. And it proved later on that he didn't do it. What was he deceptive about then? We learned that he was deceptive because he was under the influence of drugs, and at that point, incapable of giving eyes-on protection to the little girl, who was able to open the door herself and wander away. So that's called attendant guilt, and it's very difficult at times to discern. So the conclusion of the matter is it's inconclusive. We need more of a statement. The 911 call, of course, would be telling. I don't have any association with the case. I'm just going strictly by the public record. Mom shows guilt, but mom also shows the knowledge, referencing her daughter in the past tense several times, that her daughter isn't coming back alive. We need to know why that is. Has she been told something that was so sobering that it knocked parental capacities down, the capacities of protection and denial? Or is it something else that needs to be said?
Okay, so there's that one. That was a shortened version. We're going to look at the other statement analysis from Peter Hyatt here.
Word causes a sense of conflict. In other words, my opinion is going to be buffeted by the opinions of others. So as I'm looking at a particular statement, as I'm looking at a particular word, I'm going to get pushback. I'm going to be challenged on it. People from different perspectives are going to have different opinions on it. And I think that's not simply helpful, but it really is essential. And that's where the greatest learning comes from as you're working with professionals um, with all different backgrounds, from the obvious in law enforcement investigation, some federal, some state, some private, also within business, social sciences. There are many different backgrounds, and they bring those backgrounds to the table looking to gain to the truth. We all follow the same principles, and the principles lead to a very high success rate. It's not always perfect, but the goal is always to strive for 100% accuracy. Some of the problems we encounter will look like this. This person is deceptive. However, is the person deceptive about this particular allegation, or might there be attendant crimes? And this was a lesson I learned years ago, where a little girl went missing and the father was deceptive about the little girl going missing. He did not kill her, but he was under the influence and passed out and unable to supervise her, and she got out on her own.
And that's what a lot of us throughout the last 2 years have asked, is Candace, Dr. Phil said this, is there something that she knows that maybe she's not, like, let's say they would be innocent for some reason, they're innocent, let's say. Is there something that they're not saying, like, did they owe someone money? Was there a drug you know strife going back and forward with them and someone else? But the story that they give us doesn't make sense, and that's the problem. 2 minutes, someone they if Candace would have said, I went inside and I laid down, and I woke up 3 hours later and I just had no idea. I looked around, but 2 minutes and this person came in your house. That's what, it makes it so much more less likely, therefore less believable. It would be strange for someone to come up on that hill at all, particularly, just walking up on the hill without, the dogs barking or anything else. The dogs barked constantly. So that's what, you just can't help but side eye.
Was killed. So there's an example where I concluded deception indicated, but it wasn't accurate where that deception was located or why the deception was there. It was evident that he was deceptive, but not about the particular allegation. It's also challenging with journalists editing. That can be very difficult. There are certain questions that just need to be asked when a child goes missing. Do you know where your child is? It may seem difficult for some journalists because they're afraid to lose the interview, but the person, for example, who did not do it, who has no involvement or no guilty knowledge of what happened to the child, is glad to have that cleared off. Remember, many years ago, John Walsh used to say to parents, take the polygraph. Take the polygraph immediately. Be cleared so police can move on quickly to find your child. It's great advice.
I think if they would have cooperated with the police and they took the polygraph at one shot and then done, I think the police would have been like, listen, they passed these polygraphs, they're cooperating, at this time they're not a suspect, or they, but they've done everything to stifle and not cooperate with anything other than what, the few lines that they say over and over and over that happened on June 15th.
So often, and it is rare, but every so often someone is falsely accused, and that can cause quite a delay and quite a lot of heartache, additional heartache. But it's best not to be overly sensitive, because parents who have a child missing, their priority is the child missing, not their reputation. That was not the
Their priority is not their reputation, but the priority is their child missing. Don, he still says he is the victim of his sisters. It's beyond, beyond. That's all I can say. It's bogus. Him saying he is the victim. It's all about him. That's all it's ever been about. It's been about nothing but Candace or Don. Never about their children. Never. And that is why they are where they're at. It's never been about the kids.
the case, for example, in some of the ones that we've covered, including the disappearance of Madeline McCann. Their priority was self and self-preservation. It wasn't appealing to a kidnapper, describing and owning the language of a kidnapping, nor reaching out for her. So this is a strange case that I think you'll appreciate some of the feedback from the team that I'm going to bring forward here, and hopefully some can join us in. We'll see if I can get them in. Key of this was pushback. So the first statement I'm going to look at, pulling up here, begins with, well, sir, I was at work, so that from what my wife has told me and stuff, her and her mother in summer were planting flowers by her grandma's trailer, which is about, 20 feet from the house there, real close to the house. And
Don says, oh, I was, what my wife says because I was at work. And then he's telling, I think it was Cher, when she was talking about the church people, he says, Cher, that's not true. I was the only one up there. But, oh, wait, I wasn't there. Lisa, prayers for you, honey. I hope you feel better. Falls are really tough.
Summers all of a sudden said, Mom, I want to go in the house. So she said, fine. And her brothers were in there watching YouTube, and she watched her walk in the door and went in there. And then she went in there, and her brothers said that she's going to go downstairs and play with her toys. So she went downstairs.
Justin, there was remains found. Don't know anything about it except tree tremors found at Sevierville, Tennessee. Smokies. Interesting. Well, let's hope whoever it is that you've been waiting for me to go live. I see you. That's funny. I've been live for 40 minutes. I see you. Can you see if you can find Jill just said, Justin, there are remains found. Don't know anything about it except tree tremors found at Sevierville, Tennessee. There's also the sorry, I can't think of her name right now. She was with in that hotel room in Johnson City. I'm trying to think of her name. When Don and Candace flew back from Dr. Phil, they stopped in Utah. Anybody know why? They did stop in Utah, yes. YouTube has been so glitchy, y'all. I don't even know. It's posted on Smiley's. Okay.
And then her mom come in and says, "Where's Summer?" Well, she's downstairs playing with her toys, and she had to holler for, and there was no answer, so she went downstairs, et cetera, et cetera. So the first thing we notice about this is that he wasn't there to make this account. He's giving an account from what someone else told him. That puts it under a classification of unreliable. We are notoriously unreliable when quoting others. And so for that reason, in terms of analyzing, we have to keep in mind that we're looking at an unreliable statement. He is relating information from someone else. The difficulty we run into with that is attempting to understand what is his perspective on this. There are some questions we can answer. And the most important one would be this. Does he believe his wife's account on what happened? Does he entertain doubt? Does he stand strongly behind her? And the length of his description before you there, the length of his description, talking to the reporter, is something unusual when you're relating the words of someone else. What we do is we begin with the presumption of innocence, not as an ethical or moral stance, but as a principle statement analysis. So we're going to always believe what the subject, the speaker, tells us, unless he talks us out of that position. And in such,
so when someone gives their statement, you consider them that they are telling you the truth until they don't, until they talk themselves out of it, really. Yes, I heard about the remains. They were found as well. It is said that it may take a month or over a month to identify them. It's true that tree trimmers found them. That's interesting. Have they stated whether it was adult or adolescent, child? Have they said? Anyone know?
we ask ourselves, what would I say? What would you say if you were at work and got a phone call and your 5-year-old girl was missing? What would you say? That's your little girl, that's your biological daughter, and she's missing. How long would you stay on the phone? You probably would ask some questions of your wife, the mother, biological mother, and seek to learn, wait, what do you mean she's missing? And where did she go? Where did you last see her? Okay, hang up with me and call 911 right now. And that sort of thing. It wouldn't take long. So when a reporter says, what happened? I was at work, my wife called me and she said my daughter was missing. That would suffice. The reporter obviously wants more detail. And as we've seen thus far, Don and Candace Wells have been more than willing to talk to anyone and everyone. In fact, a post that's reported to be from the family, a blog, came up.
Thank you, Cassie. Thank you so much, my love, for your support for the channel. Thank you, love. Cassie says, Candace and Don said their DNA is in the system for missing. That child in Virginia was not a match. can you see if Summer's name is listed? Summer's name is on list of excluded. I can't remember the name of the company you have. Do you mean Namus? Is that who you mean?
Recently, where they show concern over rumors about them and they're still there and that sort of thing. And most parents are thinking to themselves, who cares? What's Summer going through? What are you doing to find Summer? Where is she? Do you know where she is? They show concern.
So Don, the way he made it sound in the statement, you didn't ask her, you're going to say, what do you mean you can't find Summer? Where was she? What's going on here? Tell me what happened real quick. Like, the basics. He doesn't put this in the statement. He just says, oh, our daughter's missing. Hang up and call 911. You're going to kind of want to know a little bit more as a parent.
Concern for themselves. So what we're going to do is look at his statement under the context of unreliable, because he's reporting what someone else has told him. As we go through that, are we able to gain an opinion on whether or not he has confidence in her words? Does he believe her? Does he embellish? Does he add to? And specifically for this statement,
guys, I went through my block list. There was a few that emailed me and said they were blocked for some reason. If you was one that emailed me or asked me, you are unblocked now. So just wanted to let you know there should be nobody blocked.
here, is there a change within the statement itself due to its length? And the second part of this, and neither will be terribly long, is a phone interview, the transcripts that he did with Chris from the interview room. They're very important and relevant regarding the possibility of sexual abuse. So we're looking for that within language. So we're going to begin here. He starts off with well, which is a pause to think, which is something that we're not terribly expecting. My wife called me, my daughter's missing. We note then that he calls the reporter sir. That is respectful, which is understandable in this particular case. If a reporter is going to carry the message not only to Summer, but perhaps to the kidnappers, if that's what's happened to her, we want to maintain a respectful distance and be grateful for media getting it out there. What we do with that, besides the fact that we're a little concerned about the need to pause to even think about what to say here, is we're going to look at if sir changes at all. If sir changes at all. Now, if you've seen my video on the mother, you'll note that I had concluded that the mother's language showed that neglect. Neglect is what happened to Summer, one way or another. Now, I don't know, and I concluded on the video with what I had to work with. I don't know whether or not she was involved directly or indirectly, but in the very least, it's indirect. The mothers, and this is how that works, the mothers need to portray herself as someone that is hyper-vigilant on a day where no vigilance, because it's supposed to be a day like no other, a day like every other, where no vigilance is necessary. That portrayal is very common in the language of mothers who have been indicated in child abuse cases, particularly for neglect.
Yeah, if it's just any other day, it's not like you're on high alert whenever you live up on a mountain on a dead end road 35, 38 minutes to real civilization. So it's, you're not going to be like lock all the doors, and everything else. It's especially during the daytime.
And that often has to do with substance abuse. Some of you will say, well, substance abuse is obvious in this case. And what I'm looking for, what I'm limiting myself to in that video was her language. Yes, I did see the work that Chris did in terms of the house, the disheveled, the mess, the unsanitary conditions. Those are typical signs of neglect. And neglect and substance abuse are close cousins.
Yes, you can see the neglect. I mean, it's literally self-evident that these children were neglected. Yeah, and hold on. Sorry. Just trying to show something here. Let me see here. I mean, this is Summer's room. This is Summer's room. Don B did a little video on like it was Summer's room, and he took you into this literally a cellar, and you really couldn't tell the difference in this cellar that Don B took you in versus Summer's room right here. You really can. I mean, this is neglect. This is neglect. I mean, a prison has more lighting than this bedroom. It's dungeon. It's not a bedroom. This is not a bedroom. This is neglect. Candace said she looked under everything. Well, there's just junk. There's no beds or anything to look under necessarily. This is upstairs. And the other victim of Don's was brought up. Don went off. Chris M got a bingo card. Don went off. Yeah, of course, because Don doesn't want. He wants people to believe him. He is saying he's the victim. He is no victim at all.
Remember, neglect is probably the easiest of all the elements of child abuse because it requires doing nothing or little.
Neglect is the easiest in the child abuse because it requires doing nothing. Nothing. This is nothing. This is nothing. It's nothing.
Effort. What we also look for is in the language of addiction is manipulation. The language of addiction is in two distinct categories. One is the language of addiction itself, an active addiction, and the other is the language of recovery, which is very different, starkly different. And I think no training was necessary for people to conclude there are substance abuse issues in this family, and that was obvious, but it's also in the language as well. So we're a little bit on alert, knowing these things, with what Don says, the father, for manipulation. It shouldn't be necessary. Um, we presume that he had nothing to do with his daughter's disappearance. He was at work. There may be the trauma of a life that he's had weighed in, which leads me to another point.
Y'all, I've got to show y'all something. I forgot to tell y'all. I was going to tell y'all at the beginning of the show. Okay, I haven't been a little under the weather the last couple, well, just a little bit. And we talked to Dawn's, the lady that Dawn got the panties where he was trying to steal, that he was stealing. We talked to her. And I'm going to read you what she wrote. I need to show y'all this. Okay, I marked out her name and all of that stuff. Okay, we marked out her name and all that. But we asked her and told her that his little, Don has a little girl missing and all that. And she says, I think she means, yeah, come to find out, my daughter used to have a crush on his son, Don's son. We're talking about Don's oldest son, Don Jr., or Don the third. I guess he would be Don the third. Used to have a crush on his son. I don't think I ever met them, didn't want anything to do with them. They were trashy people. Well, all I remember is the cops caught someone trying to break into my house. But anyway, I really don't know them people, and I don't really know them people. And back then I was a stripper and lots of men wanted my undergarments, LOL. But that life is over. So have a good day. There's really nothing other that I could tell you to help you, because I really don't know them people. Sorry. And we just said, all right, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And she said, all right, good luck with that one. I know I don't know. I know I don't need these people. I stay to myself, have been married 15 years. Now we're both retired. So this woman did not really know who Don really was. Now, did Don have, apparently he had the hots for this woman. It makes me wonder, did this woman says that her daughter had a crush on Don's son. Is that how Don knew this woman? Or did Don see her as a stripper and followed her home, or knew she was a stripper? You can have the hots for someone, but you don't need to take their panties or their undergarments. Yes, that is true. Now, Don said he told the police he was going to pleasure himself with them. I guess that's how you would say that, to be. But, there is serial unalivers out there that will literally go in. What was that serial unaliver's name? His name is Russell. He's from Canada. I think it's Russell Williamson or something like that. He used to go in these women's houses that he found attractive, and he would take like drawers full of their lingerie, and he would wear them and take photos and stuff, and then he would go unalive them. You don't know what is in. I mean, for someone to think it in their mind is one thing, but then to go act upon something, to go in someone's personal home, buildings, belongings, that is a whole nother ballgame. Yeah, it's Russell something. What was his name? So, yes, Russell Williams. And here, I'll show it to you. He was in the military. And this man, like, was very high ranking. Very, very high ranking. And he would see, like, he would literally, he unalived these people, and he would wear these garments. Yes, he was found with over 1,000 pairs in his attic. Yes, absolutely true. He was married. He was an Air Force pilot. He flew literally the Queen of England at times. He had to break in we had to break in our house before they did not take anything except went through my mom's underwear drawer. They caught him at another house. That's that's the next thing before like SA or R, in my opinion. Coming, we know that Don, he has breaking and entering charges. One is from Pantygate, right? Grace, honey, take a break. If it's getting to you, take a break. There's nothing wrong with taking a break whatsoever. Sometimes you need a break, and that is absolutely okay. Nothing wrong with it at all. In fact, it's something that we all need whenever these cases can get to you. Everyone needs a break sometimes. So it's absolutely crucial. Sometimes you need, yep, Sometimes you need it. That's why I created my other channel, because I just needed sometimes to not.
If you saw the behavioral panel on their work and the body language analysis, it was very impressive because they took collectively the father's history into account. History of incarceration, substance abuse, accusations, poverty, everything else you can imagine for what it means to be defeated in life and beat down. And I think they did an excellent job. So you have a chance to watch that. It's become one of my favorite YouTube channels to tune into. So the first thing he says was, I was at work. My wife called me and said my daughter was missing. Not exactly. Well, sir, I was at work. The pronoun I is something that we use millions of times. We're very good at it. We don't need to give any pre-thought to decide what pronoun to use. When someone halts, or even worse.
Cassie said, I think Don will be busy on YouTube. He is seeing about Mary and the other victims. Isn't that so? Isn't that right, Cassie? Because it's interesting how he can talk till he is blue in the face about the victims, his victims, his words. He admitted it. And he can remember something 40 years ago, but he can't remember certain things about his daughter's disappearance, about even where he went to have lunch that day, right, Don? Because, you know, we could be able to verify that. And you can't remember where you went to lunch that day, right? But you can certainly talk about something that happened 40 years ago that you remembered and call yourself a victim when you are not the victim in that case. There is 3 that have came forward, and there is plenty more in the background.
Stutters on the pronoun I, generally speaking, it's an increase in tension or stress. So pushback would say, well, this is a stressful situation, his daughter's missing. In particular, having trouble with inserting oneself psychologically into the sentence. So we do notice there is a halt or stutter on the I there, and you'll see it other places. It is an indication of stress. Stress about being present for the words here, specifically. I was at work. Now, is this his priority, or is it necessary? Now, if it's unnecessary language, we're looking at some issues here. But to relate a phone call, you have to tell us the setting of the phone call. So what we're going to do is say this priority of being at work, this opening sentence about being at work is necessary to explain why the news came from his wife. So I hope that makes sense to everyone, and you can always send me questions later on that. But right now, instead of calling this a priority like an alibi building, we're going to set it aside because it's contextually appropriate. And we'll see if that remains or not. I was at work, so from what my wife has told me, so he doesn't say what my wife told me, but from what? And so we wonder if that might be the beginning of casting a little bit of doubt or a little bit of shade upon what his wife says. And it could very well be, but at any given time, we're willing to let it pass. So from what she told me, not what she told me, but from what? So I'm going to be gleaning, which may mean he can enter into his own language, and that's what we're looking for. From what my wife has told me and stuff, so now we know there's more information that we'd like to learn about, especially if you're an interviewer.
Yes, from what my wife has told me, and love you. Sorry, guys.
There's more things out there that you want to know. Then he uses the expression, you know. This is something we all use, and it's not something that's nefarious by itself.
Oh, but when he was saying and stuff, he's not, that is information that he is, meaning Don, is not sharing with you. He's giving you the information, but he says and stuff, which means he's leaving out something.
You know is an indication that the subject, the speaker, has an awareness at this point of his audience. And the audience could be for him the reporter and or the camera. It likely is both. But so what we do with that habit of speech is we notice what topics cause it to enter, and perhaps what topics do not cause it to enter. I'll use it when I'm speaking if I get a little nervous in front of an audience or a little bit self-conscious for whatever reason. If it's a difficult topic that I'm trying to deliver, something that perhaps goes against principle that is unusual, I may use it then. And I'm aware of it. And her mother and son.
Shannon, member for 1 year, my love. Thank you so much for your support. It means so much to me, my dear. Thank you. I appreciate all your support and help every single month for you members and all of y'all. Love y'all.
Summer, we're planting flowers by her grandma's trailer, which is about, 20 feet. So I have again, and I'm looking at this as being a possible sensitive point here. I have stuff, which is stuff I don't know, and I don't know how far a house is from the trailer unless he tells me. So I'm concerned about this account and why it's causing him to have this extra words added. 20 feet from the house there, real close to the house. So now I'm concerned, going back to her account, about him being aware of neglect. This is a normal day, it's supposed to be, and she's 5. 20 feet is about the size of a living room. It's a short distance. And Summers, all of a sudden, said, Mom, I want to go in the house. Now, I don't know if these are his words or these are her words. This is why we set it aside as unreliable. And then from there, we can still look to glean information. But unreliable means we cannot draw a conclusion about whether he's telling the truth or not because he's using someone else's language, allegedly. Now, picture, this is a normal summer day. There's nothing extraordinary about it. A 5-year-old saying, I want to go in the house, doesn't sound like something that would warrant the language all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, is Summer going to say all of us, suddenly, Mom, I want to go in the house? I mean, those kids, they would just got up and go in the house. She wouldn't say, Mom, I want to go in the house. And Candace be like, oh, here you go, honey. Hold my hand. Let me walk you halfway over. Do you think she's going to do that? And then be halfway, 30 feet, 40 feet from the camper to the house. And let's say she walks 20 feet and walks halfway, and then kisses and be like, go the next 20 feet. That's not gonna happen. It's just not. It's not. It's nothing, in my opinion. I think that is a total crock of butter.
As if something unexpected happened. So whether this is coming from him as he's editorializing what she said, or if he's quoting her, something is amiss. Now, we talk about in analysis the normal factor. The normal factor is when there is a portrayal within a statement where someone tries to normalize an event. And this is something that you learn very early on in life. So if I had a group of children and I opened up a book and I started off by saying,
Oh my God, I can actually see Cher. That is so weird. Hey, Cher. Sometimes I can't see her, and sometimes she can't see me. It's so weird. Hey, Duchess, how are you, honey? Country Crock. That's it. Yes, Country Crock.
once upon a time, on a day like every other day, they would lean up and know something special, something unique, something different is about to happen. I need to portray it as a normal knows that I'm here for a story and something's about to happen. It's exciting to them. This is along the same vein. There would be nothing that would be sudden about a 5-year-old saying, I want to go in the house. It would not be a memorable event. It would not be an event of hormonal consequence, something that causes your adrenaline to go. So someone is editorializing. Is it him or is it a repetition from what she said? Either way, it's not good, and that's why I have it in red. Said, Mom, I want to go in the house. So she said fine, and her brothers were in there watching TV, so she watched her walk in the door. Now, he either got this from her.
You know, I mean, as well, Sandra just made a comment and it made me think of something. CPS would have told Candace, don't leave Summer out of your sight. She had to put that piece in to avoid charges. This is my thing. I really wonder, were the boys really by themselves all day long? According to Jose and others, I mean, Don and Candace never really left them by themselves out there that I've ever heard or known. Jose's like, she left the kids by themselves there all day, the 3 boys. She's like, she would never do that. Remember, Don took the kids to work a lot of times. You know, they took them, they always went together. But would Don and Candace have left 3 boys alone all day long whenever CPS was there the day before? I mean, we don't know the answer to that. But would they? That's the question. Would they have left? Now, for those of you that's been here since the beginning, there was confusion. You know, some people thought there was rumor that the boys went with Dawn that day to work. And then there was no, they were left at the house all day long. And then what's the flute guy name? Cher, did you hear that? By the way, the flute guy, he said Candace. I played it yesterday or the day before. Candace said that the boys in Summer was swimming that day. And he made that very clear. You have to listen to that recording. It was on Unmasked, but I played it here the other day. It's very interesting. Little nidbit. And then there's those little, slip ups that Don has talked about too. David Dotson, yeah. I can't think right now.
Her, or he's bringing it into himself. But if a normal day, a nice summer day, in a property that is marvelously private, with all the acres around them, would anything need to be sudden and unexpected to say, for a 5-year-old to say, go in the house? And would there be a need for the mother to then do eyes on supervision, following her right into the house? What he's doing here is he's confirming for me the analysis of Candace's statement that neglect is part of this case. Summer is missing, neglect is part of this case. This is a signal of him either acknowledging her neglect or repeating it. Went in there, and then she went in there. So we have an unnecessary emphasis. And her brother said she's going to go downstairs and play with her toys. We don't know when actually that was said. It doesn't seem to fit very well. So she went downstairs, and then mom come in. So looking at a present tense verb, come in. And I'd like to know, is that a regional expression? Is that the way he normally speaks? What's his baseline on that? Or is there something more there? And says, present tense, where's Summer? Well, she's downstairs playing with her toys. We don't know who this is ascribed to.
I mean, when you walk back in the house after being gone 2 minutes and the front door was open, Candace's words, not mine. Candace fixes the knee brace. She goes back over to the house. She walks in the door, and her first words is, "Where's Summer?" Like, she was immediately missing. Like, she's in the house because she just walked in the house. The door was open. She didn't come out of the front door, right? So you're not going to ask where Summer. She's somewhere in that house until you walk downstairs or around the house, and then she's not in the house, but you don't even know if the door was locked, not locked, open, shut. You still can't tell us that because you've told us both that it was open and shut and locked and unlocked. That's okay, Dutch. We can't always be that way. Understandable.
If you'd like to interpret it, which I don't, you can say it was the boys, the brothers. And there was, within the language of the mother, there was the need to cast blame on anyone but herself, which is also part of the language of addiction. There's always someone else to blame, whether it is the boys, whether it is Don, whether it is the universe conspiring against me. We see that in the language of active addiction, where personal responsibility is far removed. That's why we don't like when someone says, I take responsibility for that. We'd rather you take it than talk about taking it. And she had to be hollered for, and there was no answer. This was interesting. She had to be hollered for. Oftentimes in neglectful homes, we'll see children who are immune to loud yelling. They're so used to it. It has little impact upon them, if any. And there was no answer So she went downstairs and she was nowhere to be found. So here we have the word so, which is the same as like because, since, you know, and it shows a need to explain why she went downstairs. We wouldn't need that explanation, but he has the need to explain it. And oftentimes it is a way of preempting the question, so why did she go downstairs? That's not a question we would ask. She was nowhere to be found. She went out the basement door. It was unlocked. The door was unlocked. But she's never left there, and she might be on the other side of the house. And I better tell you why, before you ask me, why she might be on the other side of the house. Because I went out there before and called for her. She'd come out from behind the house. And let me tell you the reason why she would do that before you ask me. So here you can see I'm marking up the text there, and I'm using the color blue. This should call you.
Because she just had to be outside. They're already giving you that out and that explanation, because she always had to be outside. So it's like in a sense, they're putting some fault on Summer by saying that because she had to be outside. Well, just because she likes to be outside doesn't mean anything should happen to her, or she should be kidnapped or anything like that. So he's already given you that explanation, and it's over explaining.
Your eyes to the three of these very close together. This is a strong signal of deliberately withholding information. So the question for us then is Don withholding this information, or is he this good, the length of this good at repeating what someone told him with all these details? Now, I don't think that Candace told him about himself, what he would do. Because she just has to be outside. She's an outdoor type of person, and but she was gone, buddy. She was gone. And sir is now buddy. Remember, he began off with the polite, respectful sir. Now we have the casual buddy. So what we ask is, what changed in his mind, that reporter from sir to buddy? And what we look for, we ask questions of it, but what we look for is to find the answer in here, between buddy.
Yes, Misty. Summer's downfall is liking to go outside more than inside. I mean, two things to that. I would rather be outside too if I was Summer. Can you imagine? I mean, it wasn't a room. That was literally a dungeon with a futon mattress and a couple 2x4s with a bunch of trash all around. And Don and Candace always says Summer's downfall, or Don will say Candace's downfall was having the wrong friends, choosing the wrong friends. It's always someone's downfall. And there's just no taking ownership of the behavior. It's always casting off someone's downfall.
And sir, what's changed? What's happened? What is he explaining? And he's giving a lot of detail that's difficult for us to consider that it all came from Candace. He appears to be going down, in progression at least, from starting off what she told me to his own editorializing and giving of an opinion. But he's still supposed to be in the account. Something has changed. It appears here he's withholding information, and buddy, that could be a friendly term, but it's informal, may be a signal of manipulation by ingratiation. I want this reporter to like me now. Remember, those that are in addiction survive by their wits. They survive by their ability to manipulate others. And this appears to be the case in this family.
That is the entire life of Don and Candace. They have naturally been, Candace, she was homeless for a while. Don always picked up a lot of the homeless people. They would go to the churches. They knew how to manipulate the churches and people to give them money, and it's just what they're used to, and obviously the addiction on top of it, which is just necessary for them to survive to their next high, I guess you would say.
And we can talk about this another time of a person. There's many other things here that we could go into, but time is not a lot permitting for that. And my wife called me. She's gone. She was gone, buddy. And my wife called me. Anyone notice what's wrong with that? He's telling the truth, but something is wrong with that. When we recall what happens in life and we go from experiential memory, in other words, a memory and a language of something that we personally experienced. So if I called you and told you something, you would commit to that by saying, Peter called me and told me XYZ. You would remember that naturally. Naturally is chronological order. When you go out of chronological order, you get our attention. So he had already told us that he was at work, and this is what his wife told him. And now, talking to Buddy, he goes back. My wife called me. So he went from what his wife said to editorializing, and now we're concerned about scripting. Scripting. Scripting is when someone rehearses what they're going to say with someone else. Or they can do it alone on their own planning, but in this case, he has connected himself now twice with his wife on the phone. So investigators should be very concerned that they are coordinating their stories. Coordinating their stories. And I said, hang up from me and call 911 right now. And I, another stutter there, was at work. So
He wants to really nail it down that he was at work. He tells them that he was at work because Candace called him allegedly at work. And then he is telling that in the beginning, the middle, and the end. He's wanting to nail down. He's editing it, making sure he is letting them know he was not home. Or that's what he's wanting you to believe, anyways.
So now he has pushed me back. And I said here, this is natural, and this is not necessarily his priority, because contextually it's correct. Even though I was a little concerned about this stutter on the I, or the halting on the I gave him a pass. Now he's back at work again. So when we have that repetition and the unnecessary relating of his location, and we moved out of chronological order, I have more concerns. Where else has he been? Would be a natural question to ask. Why the need to repeat? You're at work. Is he building an alibi of sorts? You know, it's not terribly difficult to ask difficult questions, or what would be seemingly difficult questions, for reporters.
When you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing. You just spit it out and you say what it was. You don't have to keep adding on, editing, explaining why something happened, which is exactly what Dawn does, particularly Dawn.
I wish more were in training in terms of how to conduct an interview, and they would learn that people that are not involved generally don't get offended or with much offense being asked if they're involved, because their mindset is on finding their child. That's what matters. Everything else becomes a shadow. All I can see is my child's face. What is she going through right now? I don't care what you think of me. Help me find my daughter. Help me find my son. Help me find the missing child. But now he needs to tell us that he was at work again. So did he?
Dawn is constantly focusing on the storyline. He wants to make sure that storyline is down, when it really should be, let me tell you this storyline very quickly and let's get on to finding my daughter. But that's not, it's about him trying to prove that this happened. I was at work. She called me. I told her to call 911. I was at work. You know, it's on and on.
Leave work? Was he at work the entire time? There's all sorts of new questions that he is causing.
Yeah, was you at work the entire time? Oh, no, I went and had lunch. Well, where did you have lunch at? I don't remember. But you remember something that happened 40 years ago. Cool.
To be asked. I called 911 through all my tools that I could in my truck. That's not what he said.
Nurse Sandy celebrating 16 months. Thank you, my goodness, love. Thank you so much, Nurse Sandy. That is amazing. That is amazing. Thank you so much for your support. Very kind. Very, very kind. Yeah. Peter Hyatt, he is on it. He knows, I mean, he trains law enforcement to catch this stuff.
So he's causing us to ask if he had gone anywhere else, And this becomes a point of interest, and you can review it at the interview room. He didn't take his truck with him, which means, you see the emphasis here, all. To take another vehicle besides a truck that you carry your tools in,
which I would love for someone to ask Don to clear that up, because Don originally said he took the Subaru. Then in the recent last few months, Don said, no, I took the Subaru the day before. So what did you take officially on June 15th, John? I said John. Don. Did I say John or Don? I kind of said it both. What did you officially take, Don, on June 15th? Was it the Subaru or was it the truck? Because something is up. Sonia celebrating her first month. Thank you, my love. I appreciate you. So kind of you. Thank you so much for your support. You're a rock star. So it would be nice to get an official statement after, over 2 years, Don. That'd be great. Thank you.
takes more effort, more time. Particularly in the morning, you've got to transfer all your tools over.
I mean, why would you transfer your tools over at 7 o'clock in the morning? That's a lot of tools. That's a lot of buckets just to take a car, just to put some miles on it. No, there had to be a reason for it. You're making yourself work harder. At 7:30 in the morning, I'm like walking out with my coffee cup.
I'm not sure if, given the history and what I've seen in Chris's interviews, if industry is part of his personality. Generally speaking, we don't like to add more work than we need to. And so there's a reason why he didn't have his truck with his tools in it. And then even from there, he qualified which tools, all that he could in the vehicle. Did they not all fit? Is he trying to portray that he was in a hurry? Which I think that it leans towards that. And his truck is not there. It's not Candace's car. It's a vehicle, which doesn't show closeness. I use the example quite frequently so people can understand not only a change of language, but how we address a vehicle. I drove my car down 95. The car ran out of gas. I left my vehicle on the side of the road and got a ride in. The car became a vehicle when it would no longer go. When I get gas and put gas back into it, it'll turn into a car again. The language changes is that way. It indicates that something took place. There was a change of reality. So vehicle, I'm concerned about that and the need to do that. And from there, Jonesboro, no, I don't know.
How is we supposed to know? We're strangers, right? He's trying to make it seem more believable. Why are you going to transfer tools, dirty, dusty tools, in a brand new car at 7:30 in the morning? There has to be a reason. He even said his work, his boss and all of them was making fun of him because he said, why are you bringing that car? Because it's out of the ordinary. Didn't Don also say in another YouTube channel that he took the boys to work that morning but dropped them back off on his lunch break when he went back to work without them? Tanya, not that I'm aware of, but if he said that, I would love to see it, absolutely, but I'm not sure. Oh, now I remember she said it was discount tobacco store right beside Hippie House. They might have not been open. This is all written down somewhere, but law enforcement has it. I was curious if it was being truthful. Planned, Kelly says. Yeah, it is.
Come out, I made it out here before anyone. Let me tell you why. Before you ask me, well, why did you make it out there so quickly? So he's portraying that there was tools he couldn't take with him. And now he has a need to explain why he made it out so quickly before anybody. Because I was freaking out. You know. No, I don't know. This is a really good example of an unnecessary edit in a statement of emotions. Anyone would be freaking out. Anyone would be upset.
Wist on June 15th, I went to all of the locations that Candace said that she went to as well. We went to the Horse Pond, we went to Sonic, we went to Walgreens, we went to the Hippie House, we went to Priceless, and then I drove to Ben Hill. So, I mean, there was a lot of stops that day. I even drove over to Alley's. I mean, there's a lot of running.
That your daughter is missing. That's natural. The need to include it in a
Oh, and I went to the hospital as well.
statement of which he's gone out of chronological order, in which he's emphasized that he wasn't there, he was at work, is very concerning. And when I got home, I drove to the bottom of the property and I realized that all my neighbors and stuff were combing the woods looking for her. And I realized, remember, the process of what realize means a processing of information that takes time. This is actually elongating time. I realized right then and there that she was not there. I knew right then and there she was gone. So you might wonder why that expression is being used. And that would be for a different study, but it could be an indication of guilty knowledge. It also could be an indication of worse fears being realized, that more information is being needed. So I'm very concerned about his need to editorialize and his need to move from what he told her to what he adds in. And I think it shows either a lack of belief in the statement, whether it comes from her or from himself, or he doubts her account. But something is wrong. It's not a clear indication of this is what happened. This is what I know in the statement. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat that I could annotate. Greg Hortley said, story, story, story. I agree with that. That's what scripted language means. Law enforcement will call it storytelling. We sometimes refer to it as narrative building. And there's much more there in terms of the statement, but for the sake of time, I wanted to look at the second one. We did cover neglect indicated. Please take a look at the prior video. The need to place her outside is constant. But the idea that on a normal day, she all of a sudden said, and then I watched her going 20 feet through the door, which reminds you something else.
What happened here?
Here's why. It has been, in my own experience, in many little bit terms of size, so it's clearly legible for everyone. And this one is, and there's the link for Chris's interview. This one is
Absolutely. This is my thing, just call it was lying. Absolutely. Salty. I believe it was. I believe it is. I mean, they don't have a good track record in telling the truth and being upstanding citizens, you know. I just the children have been neglected terribly. Terribly. And if Summer was to get found right now and she was to be okay and alive, she wouldn't go back because of the neglect. And that says a lot. That says a lot. It says a lot that within 7 children, 9 children counting Don's 2 oldest, that you literally, there's been unanimous decisions from different DHS, CPS that you are an unfit parent from different states. It doesn't mean that Don and Candace doesn't have nice qualities, can have some nice qualities about them. It doesn't mean that they can't be nice or kind to you or me at times, but it's about the whole person of how they treated their children. Now, how you treat your family is really um, who you are at the end of the day. Those are the people that know you best, and how you treat them really says the most. Nana for life, thank you so much, my dear. Welcome. God bless you, dear. Appreciate you. Nana for life is a sweetheart. She's extremely, extremely caring, great person. Um, and let's just hope. I don't know. It's just very discouraging sometimes. A lot of times, it's so discouraging. Oh my god. Someone asked me a question a second ago. I needed to answer it. I can't. I remember watching the video, Peter. I don't think I got as much out of it back then. That's good. How can we print out home? How can we print out at home Summer's poster? Um, so I am going to be fixing a poster, and you just click on the link and you can print as many out at home as you want. You can send it online to Staples or Office Max or anything else like that. And you can also, and a good way to do this, if you can't print a bunch of them out, is just share them through social media. Share them everywhere you can. That is one way to really, really make a difference. I truly hope the law enforcement puts enough pressure on them that they will eventually tell what happened to Summer. I do too, because we're all exhausted. And I know law enforcement have worked their entire ass off on this, right? Yes, Brian. Hey, Brian St. John. How are you, buddy? Good to see you, my friend. Or go to UPS store and they will help you print them out. Okay. I didn't know that. Oh, you mean, yeah, UPS. Gotcha. Okay. Yes. There used to be a big company called, what was it, Kinko's or something like that in the 90s and the 2000s. It was huge. It's like where you printed everything out. They use the YouTube platform as a cash grab. So do their supporters not? That's all it is. That's all it is. That is the only reason they want anyone. That's the only. If trust me, if you can't do something for Don and Candace, if you're not benefiting them in any way, i.e., money or something that benefits them good, they're not going to have anything to do with you. They're not. They're not going to stay in one spot unless they are being given something. Thank you, just chilling. Picket at the sheriff's office and demand they do something. Well, thank you, Nana. I don't know. I'm kind of, I don't ever, like, I'll be at every, when justice comes, because I'm speaking it into existence that Summer's going to get justice, then I'll be at every court schedule, whoever it is. That would be great, Nana, if you could. Here, I'll put it in. It's my email address there. Guarantee it, Lori. Guarantee it. They have to ask for money. It is always something. You know, how do you go from a family of 6 to a family of 2 and are broker than ever? How do you do that? You don't have any bills that is increased at all. They have decreased significantly. So how does, why are you needing all of this money? I mean, bukus of labor money have been given to their home, to them. Were they getting food stamps money for the kids? No, not that I'm aware of. They didn't want to be tied down to any social services at the time, but yet, bitch, that the boys are living high on the hog now. They're not living high on the hog. They're living normal. They're living a clean life. That's the only thing. They're not living high on the hog. They're just living a normal, wholesome life. Hey, V, good to see you, honey. Thank you. Something dinged. It's just Don he's thank you so much. I appreciate you, my love. Thank you so much for your support. Really a lot. Really, thank you. And Kathy said she was getting food stamps. She was. I know she. Well, I think she was getting food stamps after while she was living with Kathy. You haven't given them a well. I mean, how long? Like, it's always something. Oh, I broke my foot. Oh, my foot's swollen. Oh, my heart's, this. She's in her sweats laying in a bed in the hospital with a hat on. And people believe that. I mean, seriously. Like, what the hell is wrong with people? I'll never get it. Yeah, Scorpio. I think Kathy did help her get food stamps because Kathy wanted her to go to work, get a job. And Candace won't. She won't. She won't go get a job. She won't do anything. She will help Dawn out, but she has to be so reliant upon a man or another human being that she doesn't, and it's sad, she doesn't believe in herself enough that she could be, even like a Walmart greeter or something. It's like, you got to go do something on your own. Now Don isn't working. What the hell's wrong with him now? She's got a heart condition. She was born with the heart condition. But I believe it was just like something Kathy helped her. She can't work at Wally World. That's right, believe. You're right about that. She can't work at Walmart. Yes, she's going by Taz now. So if you see something by Taz, that means it's Candace. I'm sorry, I don't support someone who neglects a child like this. I don't do it. I'll never do it. I can truthfully, y'all, I can get along with anybody out there, but I cannot. I can't. I cannot get along with somebody who hurts a child, neglects a child, an animal, or an elderly person. Can't do it. I refuse to. I refuse to. It's never going to happen here. There's no excuse for someone treating for a child's bedroom looking like this. I mean, this looks like an earthquake happened and the ceiling fell and is now on the floor. This is exactly what that looks like. And people's like, oh, well, y'all don't understand Appalachian living. I'm as Appalachian as they come. I know Appalachian living. And let me tell you something. Appalachian people says there's a thing called horse sense and common sense. And because you're poor doesn't mean you're dirty. It doesn't mean you're filthy. It doesn't mean you neglect 7 children. Sharon, I don't even consider that a bedroom. I consider that it's no more than a dungeon. I'm sorry. It's no more than a freaking dungeon. That is a dungeon. A dark, damp room, no lighting. It's bullcrap. And I think I have another one of, and it's just like, miss me with it. Miss me with it, because nobody should live like that ever. Ever. I'm trying to find that photo of another photo of Summer's room. Look at this. Is this what a child is supposed to, is this what a little girl's supposed to look like? A 5-year-old girl. I want to show you, I want you to listen to something as well. Dawn saying something. Let me find it. Just craziness. Dawn saying this. Oh, that was Daisy. We'll find it. Okay, here it is.
But it didn't bother at this point.
Dawn said this is the first interview Dawn and Candace did. They were talking about her hair being short.
But it didn't bother at this point.
Dawn had to say, oh, her hair, her short hair didn't bother her. It didn't bother her. It didn't bother her, comma, at least at this point. And then he goes on and talks about how she liked to be a princess and everything. Yeah, didn't bother. Didn't bother. Summer did not deserve that. She did not deserve this. This would bother anybody. There is no reason, whether you have lice, fleas, ticks, I don't care, in your hair, there's ways to get it out. There is ways to get it out. And it's really just that simple. She had no toys, only Paw Patrol. Well, Dawn and Candace did a grift recent, in the last, I don't know, 4 months. Oh, did a grift saying they wanted to get the boys an Xbox. Oh, but they'll get it at, what is it, a pawn store. Did they ever get it? No, they never got it. And I assure you, they wouldn't want it from a pawn shop either. Something that could have been stolen or whatever. Of course, Lori. Of course. It's all feel sorry for them, whatever. You couldn't pay 33 cents a day for each child. They knocked on your door and are going to throw you in jail until you could borrow or you could have someone pay the money for you with to keep from being yourself going to jail, Candace. It's complete BS. The toys in the room were boy toys. Candace told Chris that when he bought up this or that toy, Candace told Chris him that when he brought up this or that toy, it was weird. Something was up with how they were with her. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. It's just, nothing changes if nothing changes. How do they afford brand new motorbikes and live like that? Well, Dawn has they have very expensive habits. Very expensive habits. And when you have very expensive habits, drinking, smoking, Coca-Cola, they shaved it to the scalp. Yes, they did, Anna. They shaved it to the scalp, and it was unneeded. And also, if you look in when Summer first went missing, and one of the boys is in the interview with Dawn. He's got his head down. He looks scared. Is his hair long or short? He's got longer hair. It doesn't look like, I mean, she had like no hair in the beginning. And I think it was shaved more than once as well. I really think it was shaved more than once. They still talk about the boys more favorably than they talk about one. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, in my opinion, that they did something to Little Summer. But even if they didn't, they were neglectful, horrible people. And they're still not trying to help themselves. Still not. Don slept with Summer. Shouldn't he have had lice? Well, they said nothing would grow in Don's head. Can you imagine Candace patiently waiting, brushing the tangles out of her daughter's hair? Candace doesn't do anything. She doesn't do anything. And to be honest with you, when the boys were little and Summer was an infant, and Candace and Dawn had just married, they lived a lot better. You could tell the family system was so much better in that time. Like Summer's got, she's cleaner, the boys are cleaner. There's pictures of inside the house. There's things that Candace has, things much more neat and tidy. Dawn's got, a button-up shirt on. I swear I saw a picture of him with his hair buzzed. Dawn. I don't know, but even Chris said it smells. Oh my God. I can't imagine. Can't imagine being down there. Can you imagine with the fleas, the rats, the roaches, the food containers, the spilled drinks, the mold, the mildew, the wetness, and just the dirt in general? No wonder, you know, they were sick and snotty and all that all the time. The dog poop, yes. I just don't understand how people live like that. I don't understand. Like, how does a human being, there's a difference in messy and filthy. Messy is stuff might be not in order, things got out of order a little bit, but you put them back in their respective places and your house is, rather clean. It was staying high, drinking, smoking, all of that. What'd you say? I see you. Hey, Jody Sue, how are you? Lisa, the locals say he's too hot right now and isn't worth the jail time. Who's that? I see you. We were poor, but this is just beyond. I don't care how much you ooh and all, it doesn't take away this. Marlena, did you hear Candace last night? Summer liked to be with Summer, or Summer liked to be with me during the day and with Daddy at the night. Oh my God. So disturbing. God. Poor ain't got nothing to do with soap and water. Exactly. Marlena, I heard that and had to rewind. No telling what. Oh, I know. But, just like Peter Hyatt was saying, for them, it's more about worrying about, fighting their reputation and everything. And the people who really are secure with themselves, whether it's in true crime or it's on YouTube and stuff, they don't need a response video for, to say, oh, this is who I am. I'm going to tell you who I am. Your actions always speak louder than words. How you act and how you show people who you really are. That's what really matters. It's not about what you say you are. And Don and Candace, they just want to lie. That's all they care about. Don said the morning he left, Summer was in the bed and he kissed her and covered her up. That's right, Marlena. Circumstantial evidence is evidence. Sure is. Don was quick to say they only associate with church people. Yeah, along with the crack whores and the coke dealers. Is what it is. Forgot to leave that part out, didn't he? He's not fooling anyone. And the people that say that they believe it, they're lying to themselves because you couldn't believe that. Like you literally could not believe that. I wouldn't leave my dog in that space. No, never. Well, I mean, our dog's bed is cleaner than Summer's or any of the other one's bed. I mean, hello. It's very, I mean, it's apparent that there was neglect. So they blame the mess on law enforcement. Well, Don blames a 5-year-old. He literally blames a 5-year-old. And I was listening to him say something, and then he was talking about Summer, and he said, well, she was only 5. And I'm like, you see, when it's his daughter, he's saying she's only 5. But when it comes to his sister or his stepsister being 5 years old or whatever, it's like he doesn't think of it that way. They were both 5, right, at the time. Summer disappeared at 5. His stepsister was abused at 5. Thank you, Becky, my love. Appreciate you, baby. Thank you for the super sticker. Maybe if I thank you, my love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I truly believe that. What did it say? What a joke. Law enforcement didn't see the nasty mattress pile up on the porch and everything like that. I don't know. Poor Summer, man. Poor Summer. He said his 5-year-old sister made passes at him. 5. Like, you're starting kindergarten at 5. That is not in a 5-year-old's brain. Or how does he say that? I'm still waiting for him to tell us why he didn't go to work on Sunday? He always dodges that question. I know, Tracy. I wondered that myself. Where'd you go, Dawn? What were you doing, Dawn, on Saturday or Sunday, rather? He likes to just lie. Boys still have cooties at 5 years old. Exactly. He says that she knew what she was doing at 5. I can't. It makes me sick. Makes me sick. Y'all, I'm going to jump off here. I've been on here for 2.5 hours. Last night he was saying that having a missing kid is hard and all, but that the situation with Mary and Jeannie makes it so much worse, or it is so much worse. Screw you, Don, for that. I love you all. I appreciate you. I wanted to come on for a little bit. Yes, guys, join our True Crime, Justin for All True Crime Facebook group. You'll be glad you did. There's a lot of information that we provide every day about cases we're covering, behind the scenes, different cases that we can't cover on here. We're going to be doing also some new stuff here on our True Crime channel. We'll be expanding some of the things we do as well. So I hope you guys enjoy that. You'll see very soon in the next week, or so. Yeah. So I love you all. PG, that she'll probably go live tonight sometimes, probably about 11:30. So I might see y'all over there, or Smileys or something like that. So I love Susan. Thank you so much. Thank you again. Thank you so much for your support, my love. I really do appreciate y'all's support right now. Does mean a lot. Let me give you your clap here. You're awesome. Thank you. Thank you all. The seventh day of the Sabbath was on Saturday. Lisa, thank you so much, my dear. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Very kind of you. Thank you, State of Confusion. But yeah. All right. I appreciate you all. Oh goodness, PL. Thank you, honey. I appreciate you. Y'all are really good to me. I appreciate it. I've been a little under, I don't know. I've got like a little bug or something right now. But I'll be good as gold tomorrow. Gotta stay in a constant state of gratitude, right? Gratitude. I appreciate you all truly from the bottom of my little pea picking heart. I appreciate you truly. God bless each of you. I swear I love you all. I really do. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.